I was 7 years old when I woke up at 2 a.m. and saw someone standing at the foot of my bed. Not my parents, not my brother, someone else. And when I screamed, my parents came running but found my bedroom door locked from the inside. I was alone in that room, at least that's what they told me. But I know what I saw, and it's just one of three things that happened to me as a child that I still can't explain. Let me start with that night. The night everything changed. I was 7 years old, living in a small house in suburban Ohio with my parents and my older brother, Jake. Nothing special about the house. Built in the 60s, 3 bedrooms, quiet neighborhood. The kind of place where nothing bad was supposed to happen. I had my own room at the end of the hallway. My parents' room was at the other end and Jake's room was in the middle. My room had one window that looked out onto the backyard, a closet that I always kept closed, and a door with one of those old-fashioned locks, the kind with a keyhole on both sides. I rarely locked my door. There was no reason to. But on the night of March 15th, 1997, I woke up at exactly 2:17 a.m. I remember because my digital clock was right next to my bed, and I wasn't alone. There was someone standing at the foot of my bed. I could see them clearly in the dim light from my clock and the moonlight coming through the window. A figure, tall, thin, wearing what looked like dark clothes, just standing there, completely still, watching me. I was frozen. You know how they say frozen with fear? That's real. I literally couldn't move, couldn't speak, could barely breathe. We stayed like that for what felt like hours, but was probably only 10 or 15 seconds. Me lying in bed, paralyzed. This figure standing motionless at the foot of my bed. Then it moved, not toward me. It turned its head, and I still remember this so clearly. It turned its head toward my bedroom door, like it heard something I couldn't hear. That's when I found my voice and screamed. I screamed so loud I thought my throat would tear. I screamed and screamed and screamed. I heard my parents' door burst open. Footsteps running down the hallway. My father's voice, "I'm coming, hold on." Then the footsteps stopped at my door. The door handle rattled. My father was trying to get in. "The door's locked," he shouted. "Honey, unlock the door." But I couldn't move. I was still staring at the figure at the foot of my bed, except now it was looking at me again. And I swear, I saw it tilt its head, like it was curious, like it was studying my reaction. My father was slamming against the door now. "Move back from the door," he yelled. One more massive impact, and the door burst open, the lock breaking, my father stumbling into the room with my mother right behind him. They turned on the light. The room was empty. Just me, sitting up in bed, tears streaming down my face, pointing at the foot of the bed. "There was someone there," I sobbed. "There was someone standing right there." My father checked the closet. Nothing. He checked under the bed. Nothing. He checked the window, locked from the inside, just as I'd left it. My mother held me while my father searched every corner of the room. There was nowhere for anyone to hide. And more importantly, there was no way for anyone to get out. The window was locked. The door had been locked from the inside. My father had to break it open. If someone had been in my room, they would still be there. But the room was empty. "You had a nightmare," my mother said softly, stroking my hair. "Just a bad dream, sweetie." But I knew it wasn't a dream. I had been awake, wide awake. I'd seen my clock. I'd felt the fear. That wasn't a dream. "Then how did the door get locked?" I asked. My parents looked at each other. My father examined the lock, the old-fashioned kind that required a key to lock from either side. "You must have locked it before bed and forgot," he said. But I hadn't. I never locked my door. They stayed with me until I fell back asleep. My father even slept on the floor next to my bed that night. The next morning, I noticed something I hadn't seen in the dark. At the foot of my bed, on the hardwood floor, there were marks, scuff marks, like someone had been standing there for a long time, shifting their weight. I showed my parents. My father said they were probably old marks. I just never noticed them before. But I had. I'd lived in that room for 3 years. Those marks were new. For weeks after that night, I couldn't sleep. I'd lie awake, watching the foot of my bed, terrified that the figure would come back. It never did. But sometimes, even now, 27 years later, I wake up in the middle of the night with the absolute certainty that someone is standing at the foot of my bed, watching me in the dark. The second thing happened when I was 9 years old. My best friend at the time was a kid named Marcus. We lived 2 houses apart and did everything together. Rode bikes, played video games, built forts in the woods behind our neighborhood. Marcus's house was older than mine, built in the 1920s. It had this massive basement, not a finished basement like people have now, but a real old-fashioned basement with stone walls, a dirt floor in some parts, exposed pipes running across the ceiling, and a smell like damp earth and rust. Marcus's parents used it mostly for storage, old furniture, boxes of Christmas decorations, his dad's tools, that kind of thing. Marcus and I weren't supposed to play down there. His mom had a rule: the basement was off limits. Too easy to get hurt on the old junk stored down there, she said. But of course, that just made it more appealing to a couple of 9-year-old boys. One Saturday afternoon in summer, Marcus's parents went out to run errands. His older sister was supposed to be watching us, but she was on the phone with her boyfriend in her room and basically ignored us. "Let's go to the basement," Marcus whispered. I hesitated. "We'll get in trouble. Only if we get caught. Come on, don't be a baby." So we snuck down there. The basement was huge. It ran under the entire house. The stairs came down in the middle, and from there, the space opened up in all directions. Some areas were relatively well lit from small windows near the ceiling. Other areas disappeared into shadow. We spent about 20 minutes exploring, finding old toys that used to belong to Marcus's dad, looking at rusty tools, pretending we were archaeologists discovering ancient artifacts. Then, Marcus found the door. It was in the darkest corner of the basement, hidden behind a stack of boxes. A wooden door painted dark green with a metal handle. "I've never seen this before," Marcus said. "Maybe it's just a closet," I offered. Marcus tried the handle. It turned easily, and the door swung open. Beyond it was a small room, maybe 8 feet by 8 feet. Completely empty, except for one thing. A mirror on the far wall. Not a modern mirror, an old one in a tarnished silver frame hanging slightly crooked. "That's weird," Marcus said. "Why would there be just a mirror down here?" We stepped into the room. Our footsteps echoed strangely, like the space was bigger than it looked. We stood in front of the mirror, looking at our reflections. The glass was old and slightly warped, making our faces look distorted. "Let's play a game," Marcus said suddenly. "What game?" We both close our eyes and count to 10. Then we open them and see if anything changed in the mirror. It seemed stupid, but I went along with it. We were 9. Stupid games were our specialty. We closed our eyes. 1, 2, 3, we counted together. Around 7, I felt it. A change in the air, like the temperature had dropped, like something had shifted. 9, 10. We opened our eyes. Our reflections were still there, but something was different. In the mirror, standing between us, directly between our reflected selves, was a third child. A boy, about our age, wearing old-fashioned clothes, knickers, a white shirt, suspenders. His face was pale, his eyes were dark and hollow, and he was smiling at us. I spun around. Nothing was behind us. The room was empty. I looked back at the mirror. The boy was still there, still standing between our reflections, still smiling. Marcus saw it too. He grabbed my arm, his fingers digging in painfully. "What is that?" he whispered. In the mirror, the boy's smile widened, and then he raised one hand and waved at us. We ran. We crashed out of that little room, through the basement, up the stairs. We didn't stop running until we were outside in Marcus's backyard, in the bright sunshine. We were both breathing hard, terrified, but also half convinced we'd imagined it. Talked ourselves into seeing something that wasn't there. "We should go back and check," Marcus said, though he sounded very unsure. "No way. Come on. We probably just psyched ourselves out. There's probably a logical explanation." Against my better judgment, I agreed. We went back inside, down to the basement, to the corner where we'd found the door. The boxes that had been hiding it were back in place, stacked exactly as they'd been before we'd moved them. We looked at each other. "Did you?" I started. "No. Did you?" We moved the boxes again, more carefully this time. The door was gone, not closed. Gone. Just a solid stone wall where the door had been. We felt along the wall, searching for any sign of a door, a crack, anything. Nothing. Just cold, solid stone. We never told his parents. Who would believe us? We didn't even fully believe ourselves. But 3 days later, Marcus called me, his voice shaking. "I found something," he said. In my dad's old photo albums from when he was a kid. He came over and showed me a black and white photograph from 1952. 3 boys standing in a backyard. One of them was Marcus's dad as a child. One of them was Marcus's uncle, who I'd met a few times. And the third boy was wearing knickers, a white shirt and suspenders. "Who is that?" I asked. Marcus's hands were trembling as he held the photo. I asked my dad. He said that was his friend Thomas. They were best friends when they were 9 years old. What happened to him? He died in 1952, in my house. How? He was playing in the basement and fell down the old coal chute, broke his neck. My grandparents had the coal chute sealed up after that. They felt so guilty. I stared at the photo, at Thomas's face, at his smile. It was the same smile I'd seen in the mirror. I never went back to that basement. Marcus's family moved away 2 years later. I heard from him once, about 5 years ago. He's a lawyer now, living in Seattle. I asked him if he ever thought about what we saw in the basement. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "Every night before I fall asleep." The third thing happened when I was 11 years old, on a camping trip with my family. My parents had decided we should spend a week in the mountains. Really get away from civilization. No phones. This was before everyone had cell phones anyway. No TV, just nature. We drove 6 hours to a national forest, hiked 2 miles into the woods, and set up camp near a small lake. It was beautiful, peaceful, the kind of place you see in paintings. There were 4 of us, me, my brother Jake, who was 13, and our parents. We had 2 tents, my parents in one, Jake and me in the other. The first 2 days were great. We went fishing, hiked around the lake, roasted marshmallows, told stories around the campfire. Classic family camping. On the 3rd night, something changed. We were sitting around the fire after dinner. The sun had set about an hour earlier, and the darkness in the forest was absolute. Beyond the circle of firelight, you couldn't see anything, just black. My dad was telling a story about his own childhood camping trips when he suddenly stopped mid-sentence. "Did you hear that?" he asked. We all listened. At first I didn't hear anything unusual. Just the crackling of the fire, the gentle lap of water against the shore of the lake, crickets chirping. Then I heard it, singing, very faint, very distant. A child's voice, singing a melody I didn't recognize. "Someone else must be camping nearby," my mom said, though she sounded uncertain. "We're 2 miles from the nearest road," my dad said, "and we haven't seen anyone else in 3 days." The singing continued. It wasn't getting closer or farther away, just constant. A child singing the same melody over and over. "Maybe it's carrying on the wind," Jake suggested, "from somewhere far away." But there was no wind. The air was completely still. We sat there listening for about 5 minutes. Then, as suddenly as it started, the singing stopped. "Probably just some other campers settling down for the night," my dad said, but I could tell he was trying to convince himself as much as us. We went to bed an hour later. Jake and I settled into our tent, into our sleeping bags. The temperature had dropped significantly. It was probably in the low 50s. I was almost asleep when I heard it again. The singing, much closer now, maybe 30 feet from our tent. I opened my eyes. Jake was sitting up in his sleeping bag, listening. "Do you hear that?" I whispered. "Yeah." The voice was clearer now. Definitely a child, a young girl, maybe 7 or 8 years old, singing the same melody. But now I could make out some of the words. Come and play, follow me and come and play." "That's creepy," Jake whispered. "Should we get Mom and Dad?" Before Jake could answer, we heard our parents' tent unzip. My father's voice. "Hello? Is someone out there? Are you lost?" The singing stopped. I heard my father moving around the campsite. The beam of his flashlight swept across our tent. "I don't see anyone," he called out. "Whoever you are, if you need help, please let us know." Silence. After a few minutes, my father came to our tent. "You boys okay?" "We heard it too," I said. "Probably just some kid from another campsite wandering around. But I don't like it. If you hear anything else, wake me up immediately. Understand?" We nodded. My father went back to his tent. Jake and I lay there in the dark, listening. Nothing, just normal night sounds. I started to drift off again. Then I felt it. A coldness. Not just cold air, but a specific, focused coldness, like someone had opened a freezer door right next to my head. I opened my eyes. There was light coming through the tent wall. Not flashlight light. A pale blue glow like moonlight, but wrong somehow. And in that light I could see a shadow, the silhouette of a small figure, a child, standing right outside the tent, right next to where my head was. I was too terrified to move, too terrified to scream. The figure stood there for what felt like an eternity. Then I heard it, the voice. Right outside the tent, inches from my ear. "Come and play with me. I'm so lonely, please come and play." The voice was sad, desperate, and absolutely not human. It had the rhythm and pitch of a child's voice, but underneath it was something else. Something old and hollow and wrong. "Jake," I whispered. "Jake, wake up." But Jake was asleep. Somehow, impossibly, he was asleep. "Please," the voice said again. "I just want a friend. Come outside and play with me." My sleeping bag was unzipped before I realized what I was doing. My hand was reaching for the tent zipper. Some part of me, some deep, primal part, wanted to go outside, wanted to see who was calling me, wanted to play. I was halfway to opening the tent when Jake's hand grabbed my wrist. He was awake. His eyes were wide with fear. "Don't," he whispered. "Don't go out there." That broke whatever spell I was under. I pulled my hand back from the zipper. Outside, the voice changed. The sadness turned to anger. "Come out and play with me." No longer a child's voice. Something deeper, furious. The tent shook violently, like something was pulling on it from outside. Jake and I both screamed. Our parents' tent unzipped. I heard my father shout, "Get away from them!" A brilliant white light flooded our campsite. My father had brought a powerful spotlight. In that light, I saw the shadow outside our tent disappear. Not run away, not walk off, disappear, like it had never been there. My father kept the spotlight on, sweeping it across the entire campsite. Nothing, no one, just trees and darkness beyond the light. We spent the rest of that night in my parents' tent, all four of us huddled together. None of us slept. At first light, we packed up everything and hiked back to the car. We drove home in silence. My parents never talked about what happened that night. If we tried to bring it up, they'd change the tough subject. Like if we didn't talk about it, it would somehow become less real. But Jake and I knew what we'd heard, what we'd seen. About a year later, I was at the library doing research for a school project. I was looking through old newspaper archives and came across an article from 1967. Missing girl still sought after 3 months. The article was about an 8-year-old girl named Emily Harmon who had disappeared while on a camping trip with her family, in the exact same national forest where we'd camped, near the exact same lake. She had wandered away from the campsite one evening and never came back. Despite massive search efforts, no trace of her was ever found. The article included a photo, a school picture of Emily smiling at the camera, and at the bottom of the article there was a detail that made my blood run cold. Family members reported that Emily loved to sing and would often make up her own songs while playing. I've never been camping since then. I'll go hiking during the day. I'll visit state parks, but I will never, ever spend the night in the woods again, because I know what's out there in the dark, and I know it's still looking for someone to play with. 3 experiences. 3 times when the world showed me that there are things we can't explain, things that don't follow the rules we think we understand. The figure in my locked bedroom, the boy in the mirror, the voice in the woods. I'm 34 years old now. I have a college degree. I work in IT. I live in a modern apartment with good locks and plenty of lights. I'm a rational adult, but I know what I experienced as a child was real. And the scariest part, these things didn't happen in supposedly haunted locations. They happened in ordinary places. A suburban bedroom, a friend's basement, a beautiful forest. If it can happen in those places, it can happen anywhere. Your childhood bedroom, your basement, your next camping trip. The world is stranger and more frightening than we want to believe. And sometimes, usually when we're children and our minds are more open to possibilities, we catch a glimpse of that strangeness. We see what's really there, hiding in the corners, waiting in the dark. If you've had similar experiences, things from your childhood that you can't explain, share them in the comments. You're not alone, and you're not crazy. If you want to hear more stories like these, real experiences from real people, subscribe to Dark Psyche and ring that notification bell, because the darkness is full of stories, and some of them are true.